Now, I am a Canon fan, people, but this next one is probably
Oh yeah.
the biggest fail
No, let's go to it, bro.
I can think of. Canon, stay in the mirrorless handheld camera game. Okay, so one last potential camera from Canon is an AI-powered camera capable of flying, doing both videos and stills. So a drone. It can automatically detect movements, can track the subject, and be controlled using voice commands. Its resolution could be, supposed, rumored, 11.7 megapixels.
So a drone.
Do not pull a karma.
Okay, look, here's my thing. I'm gonna be very just very straight about this story. I want Canon to crush it when it comes to releasing a drone, because somebody has to challenge DJI.
What do you need them to do to crush it?
Well, step one, make sure your drone doesn't fall out of the sky.
Okay.
Right? So I think that's like that's just opening the door to get in. Now, 11 megapixels or whatever it said, like that's not gonna be enough. I think you need to come into the gate with a consumer drone that is easy to fly, but and has good, let's call it R7 quality video on it. Now, we know that Canon has the tech, whether they pull from one of their mini mirrorless cameras or they pull from their PTZ cameras. They have the tech from the image quality and the image processing down. I think where it's going to really come into play is the drone itself, how it flies, does it fly? And I'm not really looking for one of those those little tiny toy drones that you kind of put up in the air and it tracks you. Like that picture basically showed. Don't do that. Give us a actual drone that creators can use, because then we'll make content with the drone, showing off the drone, and then you can take that money and then go funnel it into making all the other stuff.
I have a slightly separate take, different take. Canon, do not release a drone that has a camera on it.
Ooh.
Release a drone that you can literally put your R7, R8, R5 Mark II
now
into it. Just for a price point comparison, release a sub $3,000 drone. And obviously they could be different models depending on which of your Canon cameras you put in there.
Right.
But literally just design a camera and a gimbal system that you can put your camera in, and design or steal or whatever from DJI, their transmission system, and just create the actual flying portion of it. Because if we could do 8K 60, you're going to crush it. You are going to literally annihilate. Personally.
I'm gonna tell you why I think you're wrong. And it's not I love that idea.
Yeah.
But we've already seen that been tried by someone who I thought would have won, but they didn't. And that was Sony. Sony did exactly what you're talking about with the Airpeak drone. They can't. Yes,
Airpeak drone.
Exactly.
So I've heard of that.
So that face that you're making is the problem with the Sony Airpeak drone. They literally came out with a drone.
It's too expensive, bro.
But that's the issue. If you're gonna build a drone that can carry a payload, it's got to be an expensive drone.
Is it good?
The Airpeak drone? So I've seen it at 2 different Sony events, and it does its job. It flies well. The people I've seen fly it with it. That's literally why I thought. So this drone came out before the FX3 came out. And they were showing a bunch of test footage with a Sony Alpha camera in there. And then a couple footage had a very stripped down looking Sony Alpha camera. Turns out that was the FX3 the entire time. And so it literally felt like the FX3 was made for this drone. But I think the problem that you are talking, or that the solution that you're talking about presents a different problem. And that is that if somebody spends $2,000 to $3,000 on their camera, they don't want to stick it in a drone and send it up to the sky. Because if you lose it, you lose your camera and you lose your drone. Like, how many times have you been doing a job, doing a shoot or whatever, and like, you have your camera, you have your drone, and you told me about this. You flew your drone and you crashed it,
Yep.
right? Well, what did you do? You just went to the store, picked up another drone, and you were ready to keep going. But if in that moment you not only lost your drone, but you also lost your camera, now you've got to go rebuy both.
Yes.
That's probably not going to happen. What you're going to do is you're going to
Yes.
buy the camera and you're just going to buy a DJI drone and say, I'm just going to deal with that for now.
In principle, I believe you and agree with you. I've just been watching too much Potato Jet recently.
Yeah, I love that. He gets the
this
best
man
of us.
be putting when he put the R5 Mark II on an FPV drone and sent it, it gave me some confidence.
Well, and I get that. Like, I mean, when I tested out the Komodo X, I did the same thing. We took the Komodo X, we threw it on an FPV drone, we threw it on a gimbal drone, we sent it up into the sky. Now, granted, wasn't my camera. It wasn't my camera. It was on loan to me. So, and the folks who loaned it to me, I knew if something happened to it, they'd have another one. So they'd be okay. But that's the thing, is I just don't know if people are going to be willing and open to the idea of taking their camera and throwing it in. So that's why I say Canon
agree.
needs to come out with a consumer drone that is done.
Yes.
It has the camera built into it, because that's at least a place to start. I think Sony tried not to compete with DJI.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, DJI does have drones, you can put your own camera in them, but those don't sell,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But so Sony was like, oh, let's enter the market from this new angle, but that angle doesn't work, I don't think, for the masses.
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
trying to gain market
For
share
sure.
quickly, which is going to put pressure on DJI, which is all I really want, because then DJI will get better if they don't get banned.
Yeah.
But, if they can do that, come out with a consumer drone,
100%.
take your sensor, take your tech, take it out of the point and shoots that's nobody buying, throw that into a decent sized drone, go buy a drone company if you need to,
Yeah.
acquire them, so that way you can come on board and start to make a difference in the drone space. Because let's face it, DJI needs some competition.
Absolutely.
And I'm here for it.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I do think from a consumer standpoint, you need a $500 drone, $1,000 drone, $1,500 drone. I think that that's super needed. Those are going to be the most that you sell. From a filmmaker standpoint, you can pretty easily match Mavic Pro footage to your C70, your FX3, that sort of deal. I think if I would fly drones differently if I knew my camera was up there. And I don't even fly it recklessly now because I've already lost too many drones. But if I knew I was just going to do a quick orbit, or I knew I was going to do a push in, or I was going to do like any of those things, I would feel comfortable putting up my camera on DJI's current tech.
Yes.
DJI's tech from the Phantom 3 days when I was worried about flyaways, probably not sending up my camera on that. But now, if we have the same sort of stabilization, satellites, all that sort of stuff, from a filmmaker standpoint, if it wasn't $9,000, I'd do it.
Well, I think I'm going to end this quick drone conversation with this super chat that just came in. Shout out to Starlight Photos, who says, until Canon catches back up in the camera space, I need them to stop messing around with these non-camera.
You be sounding like a Sony fan person.
Dude, I mean, Canon's got a lot of work to do, so
hold on. We have to see real world reviews of the R5 II. And we don't need to see the R1.
we will.
We don't need to see it yet.
We'll see it all from the Olympics.
Well, ain't nobody
pretty
getting it.
soon.
Ain't nobody buying. Well, they might. But we need to see R5 II before we say that they need to catch up. I think they're there.
Okay, we'll see.
I think they're there.
Okay. Hey, you know what? That's totally fine. Let's see. Let's go to a quick chat real quick. Scott says, unpopular opinion. DJI is not bad and does not make bad drones. There's just so many drones out there for them to wait, what does it say? There's so many drones out there
from them that you hear more about them.
Yeah.
DJI is fantastic.
Yeah, no.
Their
yeah.
image, their drones,
I don't think that's an unpopular
their
opinion.
sizes, they are killing it.
Yeah,
they just don't have competition.
Yeah, my issue isn't that that DJI drones are bad. In fact, I primarily only fly DJI drones. I mean, when I started, there was like this company called Unique or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Tried their drones. terrible. But
in fact, everyone is terrible in comparison to DJI.
But my issue is more so in competition. I love when there is competition in the market because you get better pricing, you get better gear, and DJI has recently just been kind of competing with themselves, like even to a point to where like you look at their lineup and there's so much overlap, it literally feels like they're at a place where their team just has to kind of compete with themselves. So yeah, no shade on DJI. I absolutely love what DJI is doing. But yeah, I would love to see more competition just in the drone space in general. That's more so what I'm saying.
And especially if they get banned, which it seems like there has been new bills released to the House that don't talk about them being banned, but just talking about more regulations and blah, blah, blah. But my fear is absolutely, I want competition for the consumer, but I also want competition because if DJI gets grounded, holy crap, I don't want to be months or years from having to be able to fly a drone.